Muhammadu Buhari to enhance good governance. How well will these recommendations be aggregated to achieve the desired end is the focus of Panorama, reaching you live from the Garden City, Port Harcourt. I am Deepa Barry Sidoma Weke. Welcome. In the aftermath of the EndSARS crisis, the National Broadcasting Commission fined 3 broadcasting stations for using unverified and what it described as dangerous information it got from social media. In reaction to some commentators who have resorted to criticizing the NBC over its action, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has cleared the air on the matter. Anthony Forsen reports.
In a comment, the Information and Culture Minister said the NBC was lenient on the defaulters, asking what has happened to the traditional media jettisoning the age-long gatekeeping process and relying on freewheeling social media without gatekeeping for news. And to those commentators, Lai Mohammed pointed out that the offenders have already realized their mistakes.
Commentators, many of whom did not even know why the NBC imposed the fines, rushed to allege an attempt to stifle free speech. Unknown to them, the stations themselves know what they have done. They know they have breached the broadcasting code. 2 of them have paid their fines in full, while the third has paid a part of the fine with an appeal for time to pay the balance.
Insisting that the dangerous trend must be curbed, the minister cited cases where renowned broadcast stations were carried away with such fake news, which they later realized it was fake.
Reputable broadcast media organization had carried a fake report that the Ecumenical Center in Abuja had been set on fire during the violence that followed the protest. Though the same organization later retraced the story, the kind of reprisal attack this could have sparked is better imagined. Also, another reputable broadcast media organization featured a report that identified a maintenance worker atop a bank building overlooking the Lekki toll gate as a sniper, leading to attacks that destroyed many of the bank's branches. The organizations have not even been sanctioned for this terrible disinformation.
It is in the light of this that the minister maintains that the federal government will regulate the social media because it cannot allow the country to be thrown into chaos. In Abuja, Anthony Forsen, NTA News.
The Advisory Council says the present administration's culture of consistency in improvement of electoral integrity must be supported by well-meaning Nigerians. Chairman of the Council, Dr. Leonard Nzemwa, at a media briefing in Abuja, resolved to ensuring that stakeholders and forces bent on eroding gains made in the electoral process and system are checked. Timothy Yusuf reports.
Aligning with broader effort to improve the electoral process and ensures that the country continues to have inclusive, peaceful, credible, free, fair, and transparent poll remains the priority of the InterParty Advisory Council since inauguration into office.
We need to build a culture of consistency over time. The idea of the stopgap measure, where one person will take one particular tenor without giving the benefit of trying to exercise his potentials over time, is something we need to stop. And so we have related with the umpire INEC over the last few months, and we can say very clearly that INEC that we have related with has done respectably very well. When I say respectably very well, I'm not saying the umpire has no challenges or has not made some mistakes, but we can say conclusively they have posted some good results, and the clear example of that is that of the Edo election, which was widely applauded, widely commended, and the global community was very happy for it.
While recommitting to work harmoniously with all stakeholders, including the Independent National Electoral Commission, the Council enjoined Nigerian youth to be agents of positive change in the nation's quest towards improving the lot of the citizenry. A group of Nigerian women under the banner of Northern Women Peace Forum similarly condemned the violence that accompanied the recent EndSARS protest in major cities across the country, calling on the youth to find better ways of channeling their grievances.
Based on all the crises that have been going on, we are really saddened.
I beg you, all these people where you are doing this, to leave it.
The women promised to ensure that the country continues to mobilize towards promoting peace for national development. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NT News.
Muhammadu Buhari's call for a nationwide dialogue among different stakeholders towards reconciliation, social cohesion, and peace is eliciting wider acceptance as a means of addressing emerging security challenges in the country. Chidebere Onya takes a look at the place of dialogue pursuant to national development.
Addressing rising insecurity arising from communal clashes, religious conflicts, civil unrest, and youth restiveness has continued to be of great concern all over the world. The recent EndSARS protest aimed at putting an end to police brutality and all forms of human rights abuses and violations that disrupted peace in parts of the country has reawakened the consciousness of the use of dialogue as one of the potent tools for preventing and resolving conflicts, which ultimately strengthen peaceful coexistence.
Dialoguing is the first option. When dialoguing did not work, then government can use any instrument it can use. Let us focus on what will bring peace in our nation.
We can't continue to shoot, to kill human lives, destroy property. We spend money, taxpayers' money to build. We have to appreciate the sanctity of life.
It is an important part of a democratic process where the issues, interests, and rights of every person is brought to the table, so to say, so that it can be amicably discussed instead of violence.
Recommendations of periodic social research, stakeholders' meetings, and equitable income distribution should be used in managing conflicts in Nigeria, just as emphasis was placed on the inclusion and continuous engagement of youths in all structures of governance.
If the youths are not fairly represented, they may not really get to the roots of the matter.
Like the president said, that under his watch, EndSARS will not happen again. It's not that he's going to ban people from protesting, but those underlying issues that led to EndSARS will be addressed by the government.
Keen observers reiterate the inherent gains in more engagement of people through dialogue for the stability, growth, and development of the nation. In Port Harcourt, Chidebere Onya, NTA News.
With me in the studio to throw more light on the national dialogue process is Ken Robinson. He is Chairman, Peace Advisory Dialogue Search for Common Ground, and also the Publicity Secretary of Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF. You're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, Nigeria. It's nice to be here to talk on these national issues.
Okay. Let's start like this. What is your assessment of the conflict preventive mechanisms in Nigeria in view of recent happenings in the country?
Well, if we take a look at what has been happening recently in Nigeria, one could be constrained to say a lot needs to be done. A lot more needs to be done in terms of the conflict preventive measures of the government, in terms of the security architecture of the country. A lot needs to be done. We are not saying the government and the security agencies are not doing enough. They are doing their best, but I think that their best has not been good enough in view of what has been happening across the country, in the northeast, in the northwest, north central, southwest, southeast, and south-south. So a lot more needs to be done in terms of conflict prevention, in terms of conflict resolution, and in terms of rejigging and overhauling the security architecture of the country.
Okay. And then, in view of the NSAS protest, unfortunately hijacked by hoodlums, has bettered platforms to collate the heart cries of the citizens, especially the youths. What do you want of these steps taken so far to address the situation on ground?
It's been rightly said that Nigeria, about 60 to 70% of Nigeria's population is made up of the youths. And quite alarming, out of that 70% or so, 50%, about 50% is made up of persons under 18 years. And so it's something that should intrigue all of us as a country to begin to do more. We call the young people that partook in the destruction and looting of public and private property. As much as it's condemnable, as much as we say that kind of a thing shouldn't happen in our country, but it must be noted that these are young Nigerians. They are not foreigners. We call them hoodlums and miscreants, but they are Nigerians. That means there is something that needs to be done for our people to shift away from that mentality of destruction, that mentality of taking what does not belong to you. A lot needs to be done in terms of educating the people, in terms of sensitizing the people. The National Orientation Agency must be up and doing. We need to talk more to our people, community leaders, government at all levels. This is not just about the federal government, it's about Nigeria and Nigerians. So government at all levels, from the local to state to the federal level, and all agencies of government must begin to realize that there is a crisis and that we need to do more for our young people.
As an ambassador of peace, what more do you suggest to be done to assuage the aggrieved youths?
We're in a democratic dispensation, and democratic governance, one of the key indicators of is the voice of the people, accommodating all class of people in the governance process. Participation, we're looking at inclusiveness and what needs to be done. Let the young people be heard. All they want to be is to feel is that they are being heard, that they are part of this country, that they belong to this country, and that what they say matter. So that's what they want to do. Basically, is participation. Basically, let their inputs count. Let their voice count. Let government listen more to the young people. And not just listening, but let us see that what they contribute is implemented in the process of governance.
Okay. Then, let's look at how well do you think these recommendations should be harvested?
Well, dialogue is conversation, and we must continue to have conversations across layers and levels of society. Where we don't where there are no conversations, we have issues, we have problems, we have conflicts. And understanding comes from discussions, from conversations. So we commend government for initiating the national dialogue process across the country. But it's disturbing. For us in the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, we find it difficult to understand why we have to wait. And it's not just about this administration. It's a trend. It's a process that has gone on for a long time. We have to wait for crisis. We have to people to do some things, and then before we begin to initiate dialogue processes. We shouldn't be this reactive. Let's governance be a little bit more proactive, But it's good that these conversations have been initiated, and we hope that as we have conversations across the country, those that need to listen will listen, and that inputs being made will not just be thrown into dustbins or be kept in some drawers in some offices, as we have seen. For instance, the 2014 National Dialogue, CONFAB, was the 17th national dialogue in the country since 1914, since the amalgamation of the country in 1914. And we had a 17th dialogue in 2014. So where are the recommendations? Where are the reports? Recently, in 2018, the APC ruling party also set up a committee on restructuring that was headed by Governor El-Rufai. And a report has been submitted to the party. Let us not just continue to dialogue and talk and discuss. Let us also look at the recommendations that have been made and act on them for this country to be, to enjoy some stability, greater peace, and of course, a greater economic and social development.
Finally, sir, how can we sustain the successes expected from these interventions?
These interventions, the outcomes of interventions must be implemented. Government must show sincerity of purpose. Government must show commitment that we are not going to do things as we have always done things. We must, as a people, as a country, as citizens, as government, evaluate ourselves. We must reappraise ourselves to say, have we been getting it right? We are 60 years as a country, as an independent, self-governing country. Have we been getting things right? Are we doing things right? Where do we want to be in the next 10 years, in the next 40 years, in the next 50 years? Where do we want to be? How do we want to see Nigeria as a country? Do we still want to have a situation where lecturers will be on strike for 6 months in the country? Is that what we want? We must reevaluate. And this calls for all of us, the government, the citizens, and professionals and associations. We must, if we love Nigeria, if we want Nigeria to be a different country that could be envied, that could be a center of attraction, there must be change.
Thank you, Ken Robinson, for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll take a short break, and when we return, Panorama continues. Latest on COVID-19. On the 21st of November 2020, 246 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 were recorded in Nigeria. Till date, 66,228 cases have been confirmed, 61,884 cases discharged, and 1,166 deaths have been recorded. The 246 new cases are reported from 11 states, and they include Lagos 66, Plateau 63, Kaduna 21, Bayelsa 19, Rivers 12, Niger 9, Ogun 4, Ekiti 2, Bauchi and Osun have a case each. The Special Border Bonney Link Road in Rivers State is a flagship project of the federal government to open up the oil-rich Bonney Island and reduce the security risk of plying the waterways. Robinson Derataide examines the level of progress and its importance for the nation's economy.
The Border Bonney Link Road has been a pet project of successful administration before it was re-awarded by the President Buhari administration in December 2014 with a completion date of August 2022. The road traverses 3 local government areas of Gokana, Andoni, and Bonney, and it is to be funded by the Nigeria Liquefied Natural Gas and the Ministry of Works at the cost of 120 billion naira. It is about 37.9 kilometer single carriageway with 3 major bridges, 1 pipeline crossing bridge, and 9 mini bridges. With about 31 kilometers accomplishment, of which 4.3 kilometers has already been asphalted and 1 bridge completed, contractors are optimistic of delivering the project on schedule.
NLG has indicated interest to completely fund this project and get a tax rebate. So the funding is not a challenge.
We have stretched more than 1.4 million cubic meter of sand in order to reach this point here.
Apart from the youths of the area engaged in the construction, the people are happy that the project will further enhance the tourism and economic opportunities at the Bonney Island.
We are very happy with the job, and we are very, very happy with the way Julius Berger is handling it.
Stakeholders are anxious to see the completion of the project, especially as it will reduce the threat of piracy along the Bonney waterways. From the Bonney Border Road, Robinson Terateide, NTA News.
The federal government says there is no going back on the 2020 deadline for the completion of the second Niger Bridge and other ancillary roads. The Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, gave the indication at a town hall meeting with representatives from Delta and Anambra states on ways of fast-tracking the actualization of the project without hindrance. Austin Edewido reports.
The second Niger Bridge already taking shape as works intensify in the incremental launching of the decks. With the 2022 completion deadline in focus, the need to remove any encumbrances and fast-track the process of project delivery has put the Minister of Works and Housing, Babatunde Fashola, on the road to ascertain the level of progress.
This is an investment that we are all united needs to be made. And therefore, in order to make it, sacrifices have to be made. Then there will be ecological and environmental consequences. They are already factored into the program of works, and they will be dealt with at the appropriate time.
Upon completion, the toll station will consist of 16 toll booths, 8 on each side for the roads. The station will also include service and maintenance facilities such as control building, operation and maintenance building, vehicle service building, utility and security building for the administration of the road.
During the town hall meeting, the governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, and the representative of his counterpart from Delta State, the secretary to the state government, Chiedu Ebia, applauded the progress of work and at the same time urged the federal government not to overlook the genuine demands of host communities and some dilapidated federal roads.
I want to seize this opportunity to thank Mr. President for keeping his words. This bridge has been going on, COVID or no COVID. They've made a lot of progress.
Sincere gratitude to Mr. President for making this project possible.
With the traffic gridlock already rearing its ugly head in the old Niger bridge ahead of the festive period, the over 400 billion naira already put for the completion of the second Niger bridge is a pointer to the genuine commitment of the federal government in delivering the project come 2022. I'm Austin Edemodu, NTA News.
Project of the federal government has recorded newly acquired hard and software security maritime equipment apparatus to combat crimes on Nigeria's territorial waterways and piracy on the Gulf of Guinea. Ministers of Defense Bashir Magashi and his counterparts in the Transportation Ministry, Chibuike Rotimi Amechi, inspected the wares in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. Joy Uzo reports.
The visit is to assess the level of preparedness by interaction with trained personnel to ensure effective implementation of the federal government's Deep Blue project, as well as inspection of newly acquired security maritime apparatus for the purpose of checkmating criminality on Nigeria's territorial waterways. Minister of Defense and Chairman Interministerial Committee on the Deep Blue project, Major General Bashir Salihi Megashi, says the contract for the Deep Blue project was awarded based on specification, and the visit is to ascertain whether they are met.
When they are built in such a way, I think we can vouch for them. But our technical people will continue to see whether they're actual specification or not. But so far so good. I think there is progress and we believe we are on the right course.
Minister of Transportation Chibuike Rotimi Amechi says he is satisfied with what is on ground so far.
When we finish inspection and training and all that, then we expect to launch water.
The Deep Blue project is aimed at addressing insecurity and criminality on Nigeria's exclusive economic zone. The project is domiciled with the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, and is being achieved in collaboration with other security outfits. The Minister of Defense on arrival had earlier visited the Elele cantonment of the Nigerian Army. In Port Harcourt, Joy Uzo, NTA News.
Patience Dalyop emerges winner of Lagos Women Run. Olamide Oguntola has this and more on Sports Update.
Patience Dalyop